Democrats are gearing up for a real fight in the midterm elections, and we are joined in Hot Topics by a decorated veteran, former Senator and Secretary of State, whose new memoir is called Every Day is Extra. Please welcome John Kerry. You were at...
Shall I leave now?
No, it only gets better. But you were at John McCain's funeral over the weekend, and you guys had a really interesting relationship.
To say the least.
To say the least.
Yeah. I'm so sorry Megan isn't here, because I would have loved to have given her a hug.
She'll be back.
Yeah. So you both served in Vietnam, and you felt, he felt it was his duty to support the war, but you ended up friends anyway.
Well, John protested the war.
Yes.
Well, we both, you know, it's interesting, Whoopi. We both joined the military because we both love our country. We both felt the requirement of service, that you serve your country, particularly those to whom much is given, much is expected, and I was part of that generation, obviously, as he was, slightly older and ahead of me. But he spent 5.5 years in a prison camp, and we all know what horrible things happened to him. I was in the what was called the Brownwater Navy. I was down in the Mekong Delta as the skipper of a gunboat, and it was a different war. He was flying an airplane. I was in the country, in the water. And when we came back, I protested the war. I was really angry about the lives being lost, the lies that were being told. And I learned later even how early, much earlier than I thought, the lies were being told. And Ken Burns' incredible film has told much of the story of this now. So I felt compelled to speak out. And if you were in a prison camp in Hanoi and your war suddenly stopped the day you were shot down, you're kind of in the place where you were then.
Right.
And you're holding on to everything, faith of our fathers and the flag and your beliefs, which John felt extraordinarily sensitively.
So he wasn't even privy to the lies, maybe?
Well, no, he knew to some degree because his captors exploited them by pushing it at them that there were protests. So they didn't like us very much, and I understand that. One day, John and I were together in a U.S. Air Force plane flying to Kuwait after the war had ended for an inspection of the liberation. And we were awake, and we were seated by seniority, which is what happens in the Senate. It's all done automatically. So John's here, and I'm here, and we're looking at each other. Neither of us has gone to sleep, and the others are all sleeping. And we started talking. I started to ask him about flying, the Navy, Annapolis, his history, his father, his grandfather. It was a wonderful conversation. And he talked to me about my protest of the war and what we had gone through. And we decided right there in that airplane that together we were going to work bipartisanly to overcome the divide, because America was still divided. We were still at war with ourselves. And John and I decided we're going to try to make peace, not just with Vietnam, but with Americans here at home in America. And we did it.
That's a good story. That's a very good story about how two of you and the opposite.
But it's so relevant. I'm sorry, Joy. It's so relevant to today. It's why I wrote the book now. And it's why I think the book is compelling now, because it talks to how the Senate has transitioned from this place where John and I could come together and we could work together, and others did it. We weren't alone. But Daniel Patrick Moynihan, Ted Kennedy, Orrin Hatch, people got things done, and you weren't ostracized for doing it. Today, people are punished for working on the other side. There's an orthodoxy, and they terrorize people with the possibility of a primary. Not the general election that scares you, it's the primary.
That's right.
So we have to understand, all of us here, here's the magic number, 54.2%. That's the number of people who turned out to vote in the last election. When I ran in 2004, it was 60.4%. When Obama won in 2008, it was 62.3 or 4. The point is, our current administration was elected not by the people who voted, but by the people who didn't vote. And we have to make our democracy work.
Yes. So, I was at the funeral along with Sonny, and you were at the funeral also for John McCain.
I was at the funeral.
There was an
Very
outpouring of
amazing
support,
show.
as you knew. It was a most
Huge.
touching thing, singing God Bless America with everybody and talking about this bipartisan spirit you were just
it's beautiful.
describing.
It's beautiful.
But Trump, let's get to him.
Well, let me finish the story in a way if I can, and I will get to the president.
We're going to have to.
Well, let me begin by just saying, how extraordinary is it? You have President Clinton there, you have President Bush there,
Right.
you have President Obama there. The current President of the United States could not go to the funeral of a war hero in America.
Yes.
That is the most amazing
Because-
statement I've ever seen. And it's the contrary.
He wasn't invited.
Well, I wasn't invited, but there's a reason he wasn't invited.
Yes. Yeah, right.
And it's the underlying reason that speaks to the problem we have in America today. You cannot have a president who seeks revenge.
Yes.
You cannot have a president who divides the country.
And it was small and petty. Hold on, you guys. Hold on, because we got to go, and then we're going to come right back. John Kerry is not going anywhere. We'll be right back. John Kerry, who is the author of the new memoir, Every Day is Extra, which I'm actually listening to on Audible, and he's reading. So...
And you love it.
I do love it. Yeah. I love an Audible book, but I love how you're reading, because I feel like I'm with you. I'm walking with you through your life, and I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you.
But you guys had a couple of questions you wanted to ask.
Well, I would like to ask a question about the fact that the Mueller investigation is going strong, I think. We don't exactly know what he's got. And now we find out that Trump is going to be allowed to send written answers to Mueller's questions.
Yeah.
What do you make of that? Is that going to work? And can he still be held up to perjury if he lies in the written question?
Well, I'm a former prosecutor, and obviously I would, as you are, and I would much prefer to be cross-examining, interviewing somebody in person. Obviously, it's much more effective. But I think none of us know what Bob Mueller has.
Yes.
And all of us do know that he has a hell of a lot more than anybody has seen publicly.
Yes.
So it is possible that they can frame certain questions in ways that even the good lawyers or lawyers on the other side are not going to be, they're going to have difficulty answering. And it may be that Mueller already really has everything that he needs.
Without the
so that he doesn't
that's
really
the
need the testimony.
Wow.
It'd be sort of the blossom, the rose on whatever. But it's not, I don't think, critical. So, bottom line, I think it's a way of trying to wrap things up. Right. And obviously, Donald Trump has been playing rope-a-dope with the process for the last months. Doesn't want to testify.
No.
And his lawyers know what will happen if he does.
That's right.
So that's all going on. And then we've been talking this morning about the third book that's been out in the past year, the Bob Woodward book, about inside the Trump White House. And we had a lot of thoughts on that. I'm sure you've read excerpts from it, and I'm sure you've had a number of things written about you over the years. What was your immediate reaction?
That it confirms things that most of us who talk to people in Washington have known, but now it's accumulated it in a conglomerate, and in the conglomerate, it's pretty stunning.
Yeah. I got to ask you, too, are you, I know you've already tried to answer this, and you said that not likely, but are you going to run for president? A lot of people think that you should, a lot of people think that you will.
I've tried to be as direct and honest as I can about it. I doubt I'd be running for office again. I think that it's a mistake to be focused on 2020. It just really is.
Yes.
Every bit of energy and focus ought to be on 2018.
2018.
And that's the moment.
The presidency should be a dream.
Well, I mean, does he have credibility?
No. Depends on who you ask.
Look, I really think, let's get to what's really important. Our country is in real trouble.
Yeah.
We have a democracy that we love, that we cherish, we respect in so many ways, and yet today it isn't working. I mean, I can remember as Secretary of State sitting in front of a leader of another country because part of my message was I had to raise their budget. And I raised the budget, and I could see the discomfort in the body language as I talked about their budget. We haven't passed a budget in years. And you could see him looking at me and saying, he didn't say it because he's polite, but well, how are you guys doing?
Yeah.
What about your budget? When's the last time the Congress passed one?
Yeah.
So the fact is that there is a dysfunctionality and even a level of corruption in the system. And people at large, on the right and on the left, both see it. It's the same thing, folks. Our system is not delivering to average folks. And when you have 52% of America's income going to 1% of Americans, that is an unsustainable political equation. And you've got to change it.
Secretary, Donald Trump also called the Iran nuclear deal the worst deal ever. Now, that was a huge part of your legacy, which ended U.S. sanctions in Iran if Iran halted their nuclear program. Part of that deal did involve giving billions to a terrorist-supporting regime, and people have been very critical of that. What is your answer?
Wasn't that their money that we just gave them back?
Correct. In fact, we thought it was important to give them back their money because it was earning massive amounts of interest, because we were under court agreement with respect to that money, and the American taxpayer was going to be paying literally billions of dollars to Iran. So it was better to give them the smaller amount, which was their money, than to wait till it got bigger and put the burden on the American people and give them more money.
That fine point is not ever
So,
communicated
of course
to
it
the
isn't,
American
because they
public.
don't tell the truth.
Yeah.
The Iran nuclear agreement, I say this straightforwardly, is the strongest, most intrusive, most accountable nuclear agreement that we have anywhere on the planet.
Right.
And it required a country that had nuclear capacity, which was at 2 months breakout time to having a weapon, to destroy their plutonium reactor, undo their centrifuges that enrich, limit their level of enrichment, accept 130 additional inspectors to know what's happening, limit their mining, have television cameras watching what they're doing. All of that happened. It was working. And guess what? Russia, China, France, Germany, Britain have all stayed in the agreement, as has Iran, who's still living up to it. Now, that doesn't mean that we like things they're doing. I disagree with their missiles. I disagree with their support of Hezbollah. I disagree with what they're doing in Yemen. I disagree with their attacks on Israel and their attitude towards Israel. But the best thing to do was eliminate a nuclear weapon and use the vacuum of no nuclear weapon and their compliance to begin to move them away from those other things.
So this administration's position is wrong.
I think the administration has made a terrible mistake, because what they've done is the president has pulled out of the agreement.
Yeah.
Others are trying to stay in it. So if he did have to go to war, believe me, those other countries are not going to be supportive of the United States in the way they would have if we had worked with them to put the pressure on Iran.
This is what the president tweeted in response to, obviously he's on the other side of this. He says, the United States does not need John Kerry's possibly illegal shadow diplomacy on the very badly negotiated Iran deal.
He doesn't even
He
know
was
what
the one
the
that
deal
created
is.
that mess. He says that you have overstepped.
Yeah.
Well, if I overstepped, I did exactly what Henry Kissinger, Condi Rice, Colin Powell, Madeleine Albright, Hillary Clinton, everybody as a former secretary maintains their right as Americans under the First Amendment to be able to speak to people, to talk to other leaders, to be informed. I didn't negotiate. And in fact, I was supporting what was then American policy, which was the support of the Iran deal.
Yeah. So,
All right.
But can I say, this book is not a policy tome. It's a stories of life, of the journey of our nation.
Right.
this is a book about this man.
Yeah.
Okay? This is a book about this man. Another person who actually believed in the goodness of America. I long for those folks again. I long for those
stories
days.
in the book.
A lot.
of stories.
So listen, our thanks to John Kerry. Members of our audience, you're getting to go home with the book. You're going home with the book. Okay? We'll be right back. So a photo of former Cosby Show actor Jeffrey Owens bagging groceries went viral, and some people tried to job shame him. But Owens told GMA there's no such thing as job shaming. Take a look.
There is no job that's better than another job. It might pay better, it might have better benefits, it might look better on a resume and on paper, but actually it's not better. Every job is worthwhile and valuable, and if we have a kind of a rethinking about that because of what's happened to me, that would be great. But no one should feel sorry for me, either from a positive or a negative perspective. I've had a great life.
Now, the idea that someone decides to take a job to support their family. People bitch and moan and, people just sitting around being on. He's not on welfare. He's out there working. Now, whoever is shaming him, you go get a damn job.
Yeah. I was so impressed by his response because, what some people may not know is he graduated cum laude from Yale University. He has taught at Yale University acting. He has taught at Columbia. He's the son of the former U.S. Congressman Major Owens. And he was also on Broadway in 2013. So this is someone who is experienced, who is educated, who is learned, and who is working. I remember being shamed when I was in law school because I worked at a diner. I worked at a diner in law school to make extra money, and some of the other law students kind of shamed me for it.
But I'm
proud that I did that.
People feel that, that because he was what they perceive to be. People don't realize we have real lives. Things go on in our lives, and sometimes you can't get a job. Sometimes people don't want to hire you, or they can't hire you. You don't get to sit around and go, oh, boo-hoo. You got to get out and work. You got to do what you got to do.
And why isn't working at Trader Joe's an honorable thing?
You know what I love about him, though? Even, wasn't it Tyler Perry that offered him a job?
Is he going to do the job in
No,
drag?
he said, I'm happy to do auditions, but he likes what he does. He actually enjoys his job, and I think that we should celebrate.
This is happening.
That is great.
This is happening also to Stormy Daniels. May I bring her name up? Stormy Daniels gets trashed because she's a what is she? She's a porn star. She's making an honest living.
Listen. Yeah, she is. She is. And there, but for the grace of God, go every one of us.
I think she likes that job, though, and it pays well.
You know what? And one of the greatest things about porn is it is much better for women than it has ever been for men. Ever. We'll be right back.
Is it good for you?